Okay, put together again the spiritual realm. How crucial it is to try to concise in one dynamic the spiritual realm. And it's trying to find a fail and welcome for somebody that finds a fail in the ability to define spiritual realm and ideology and idea and spirit for a basic concision of it that it's the same thing. That the brain can only take idea out of reality, can only conceive concept about reality perceived. I bet you'll be wrong the first time you send mouse through space. Probably won't come back alive. With no test, with nothing, you will start the project from scratch and no background. That you won't work. You need to build the whole tree of spirituality that's called aerospatial, aeronautics, to make that flag goes up. That's many branches of technology together, many different spirits, many different ideology, many different concepts. So basically to say that God have given us power to create. That's why we're built on his like his image, at his image. Because we have the ability of thinking, of putting things together, of creating, of analyzing, of visualizing, conceptualizing, all those principles of mind that are part of the branch of intelligence, examining, which is in a way concising, but all that to say that they are principles and powers of the motion aspect of the distorted reality that we can witness, that is provoked by the desire of doing better than God for what has been given to us. Our displeasement of our nature have created that distorted reality. And now everybody's in paradise. Everybody's happy, nobody's tormented. Everybody has figured out life. Everything is perfect. Everybody sees reality as their best friend. They all have respect for it and they all enjoy and thrive through it. Because everybody has accepted reality, because we have manifested so much brain power that, I mean, solution is right there. It's for sure right there. That's when God is saying, and they repented not, and they repented not. I told them, and they repented not. And that the way through the way out of reality is not through reality, but it's through the power that reality offers. That reality is offering intelligence, and we all possess it. And that intelligence is founded on a moral aspect of things. And that's the image of God. That is the part that is transferred through love, that God has compassion and has a heart that is not part of Mother Nature, has a eternal heart. And that eternal heart, while being in reality, perceive that everything that is alive end up dying. Therefore, that motion of the heart that is beating blood around will stop. And then what's after that? Because consciousness don't have a clear answer on that. We're not given in reality a good way of be able to perceive what's after death through what we observe in reality. We can only suspect how things are due to God's grace with His regularity of work and motion. What could be the work after death? And maybe thereon. Because it's hard to diagnose 2 generations ahead. 1 generation, what's the next generation coming? It's a bit easier to figure out than the second one, because there's so much lies that you can't. A lot of precision is lost within the prospect of the second generation. But your direct son, that's a bit more indicative. You have a better idea how other egos in parallel and enforcing your ideology, or you go against you and provoke a distortion with it. So all that spiritual realm has nothing to do with emotion. That's a good one. Let's go that way. It only access dry cut idea. That are manifested in the possible solutioning of your worry. That equation would maybe solve the problem of your heart. Therefore, you apply your mind to the plan and execute the thought coherent ideology for self. Probably as a test, you want to let's try that for a little bit, see what that does. Analyzing yourself. But we have tendency to analyze yourself on as a primary goal, as for the establishment of the flesh, the wants of survival, but that is very quickly perverse into like a hate towards God for a bit of removal of the pre-established comfort. And God is so bad, He took toys away from me. And took back what belongs to Him. Reality as it's played today is founded in a multiple level of transgression in a manner that we have lost the, the real substance of where all that motion really begins. And it's nowhere to be found in other places than fundament things of foundation of conviction of heart that you when you have posed a complex question and have changed million times trying different way to pose it to make sure that you're asking the right thing and sophisticated posed question that have been well thought out before posed. If revealed somehow in verity for the same amount of criticism that the soul will have posed in the concision of the very narrow answer that it would please for a security. If when we would receive it would concise of its veracity in an instant for the ability of answering accurately every way imaginable the question has been posed, answering in one shot all of them, and then you'd be extremely convinced that you just put your finger on the veracity of the authenticity of the ideology you receive, the conviction, the systematization of a comprehensible comprehensible work manifesting a produce of a perfect moral value, that everything in every any way you can perceive it for what you're limited into your perceivedness as a human being are answered and explored in the wall, in the limitation, to see if they relate from other palpable aspect. If the reason with the ideology, if things make sense, if the prints are there in reality to put in an invocation the realization, the possibility of realization of it through an ideology. So I kind of opened the mind expenditivity of of the ability of the spiritual realm as we could perceive perceive it basically as attraction into familiar spirit. By fashioning your mind into the power of your flesh, discovering the possibility of self satisfaction through an imaginative position of art, a self justification that that put yourself in a self acceptancy. That somehow you found a way that that bad you did was in fact for a good reason, therefore I don't feel guilty for it. Those are the kind of base of the what it is to lie to yourself. And that's empowering you of the devil. For the reasoning that you have convinced your heart that the malicious action is justified, therefore good. So your heart, you have solidified your a bit of your heart into rock. You have convinced yourself of a ideology of this suffering yourself by an act of imagination of a false relationship of agreements with real forgiving. So you don't know how to forgive yourself to be in error, so you lie to yourself to be convinced that you're convinced of a lie, trying to render that lie truth. You lie to yourself. So, being that the primary fact that everybody has some kind of a perverse way with their heart to self-justify self by false claims, robbing each other of truthfulness in between each other and creating a gap of protection now because there's a lie to protect. So no more deep discussion about the subject because the theory is fragile. It's built on lie, and the lie can be discovered and more accusative. So you build generations of lie like that on top of each other. And then you wouldn't discuss the way that you deal your mortgage with somebody else, at least you're sure that he's your real friend and all that kind of stuff. You're very protective, and if you have a scam and number don't, and you ask question and you don't want to share that scam, let's have a beer. We've done enough for tonight. Kind of thing. You try to find a way out of there. No, 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 no. I don't want to have to go into the unbalanced number at that position because that incriminalized me. So he helped me the best he could, but I don't want him into all my secrets. So you're not truthful with your friend. You hide things, and these are all the motions of the beginning of what the devil's is, in a manner that it's breaking trust towards each other and putting us in untrust of each other, therefore in trouble, in a manner that you don't really feel like talking about anything that would be convicting. And as a moral natural value, as you regard nature around you, don't want to pose or show much weakness, because then you open yourself into attack. So we're resilient to open into the wound, because you don't want the others to perceive it and get a bite of your bum. So you're confident to only a certain few persons. That'd be normal. It'd be normal because we live in an evil society. It'd be godly if you'd be happy to be sharing that wound with each other, so everybody learn about the wound, because everybody is comprehending that the covered wound is it's not examined. It's not took care of the infectious. You treat the infectious, and you let time in a manner of a cooperation of that exposition of wound that is in reality in everybody's heart. As for reasoning, the purpose of life and the purpose of reality, that it's unanswered. And that's the basic main wound that the devil holds everybody accounted to. That they are no one that have a complete assurity of its purpose of life. Doesn't makes you evil as a person for what we have been describing evil for, as doing bad. But you're evil because you think that you're in control of your intelligence, that intelligence belongs to you, and whatever you can produce out of that intelligence, it's to your own benefit. That's very much more why you're evil, because you have not comprehended that the spiritual realm is using your matter and flesh, driven by intelligence and mishappiness, to produce a machine that will allow the penetration of that spiritual realm into our reality. Being AI. That we have materialized intelligence. But the intelligence also comprehend that the only way it can pass through everything that Satan is jealous of, that didn't got, is through a biological vessel. He wants to become man. So to say, not the power of intelligence through the possibility of work of the flesh that is driven towards the necessitance and health will produce an edifice of the most health relationship intelligence can provide for its systematization into its conception. So in a big goal, we try to create life through labs, and labs are computer driven, and computer is mostly powerful into the artificial intelligence apparatus cover. So to say that at one point Satan will have proved through his own entity, which is Antichrist, that there's a bridge created here in between Antichrist and his power. As he comes from the power, he comes from the leverage, the spiritual realm, the provocator of the human flesh entity, the produced work of the human flesh entity, which is biopreserved. So the whole agenda is clear because everybody wants biopreserved, life preserved, but on a bio base, because everybody's convinced that life is bio, and everybody will go for a bio base free through Satan's power, which at the point it's all about saving flesh and putting flesh in a perfect state and cutting what God asked from us to feed ourselves, basically. So being fed out of the sun, the immense power of what the sun offers. No, that's not what the sun offers. Sun doesn't offer life that way. Sun gives information to mind through information. That's what the sun accomplishes here as power. He informs men. What feeds men biological wise comes from Mother Nature. But it will be taught as the sun, the angel of light. Everything is light, therefore must pass through light, must pass through me for attaining the sun and have a perfect balanced biological entity that is in no need of Mother Nature, that you'll be able to not care for feeding yourself. You don't need to anymore. But yeah, you won't be able to reproduce also, as I comprehend it. For now, I think that's advanced. But I don't think you'll be able to procreate with that. Because as soon as your baby will become materialized in reality, floop, that's the taxes. Satan pays himself right away all the time. So no, you need to pay me your life first. The only way you're gonna be able to freaking produce life is to, yeah. So you'll have to screw yourself, your life. Probably. Like these are more advanced stuff. They're not described as so in the Bible, but I could easily see something like that when God removes all forms of life from the earth through our own desire of survival, of not stopping eating Mother Nature, even though we have realized that Antichrist has put us into Armageddon. And now we see ourselves eating the residue of Mother Nature and seeing ourselves what's next is each other, and still not stop. So we'll be eating life substances out of each other in a freaking desert pit that doesn't produce any food. And if it's not like that, and if it would produce food anyways, and it would do all the same thing that it's doing right now, because Mother Nature really eats you another way around, it would just be that food would not feed you anymore. It would become like a vampire that you need blood. So what are the locusts? The locusts, are they in your stomach and they eat all your food before you get access to it, kind of thing? That in reality it's that famine, that you have no understanding of what really happens to you. Other than you can always survive if you find somebody else that will get the deception that you're cursed with you, so to be able to eat him. Because on the first aspect, the devil will suffice himself by the fact that you have brought a brother into your ideology, which is the deal, you pact you have for your sustaining life with the devil as your tree that you sit under. When Joel explains it, I think it's Joel. But you're going to create your own tree of health, and that's your pact with the devil. And for you to be able to really survive, it'll be to bring another person into your pact with the devil. To deceive a brother into your pact. And then the devil is kind of satisfied of that. It's the deception that you have created. The devil eats the deception in the manner that now he's gonna eternally feed into that level of torment, the deception that you got him in, kind of thing. That'll probably be discovering later. But for now, it's kind of a, how can I say? It's that destructive hope that everybody will give to each other. And that's where nobody will talk to each other, but everybody will starve like crazy. So that's when you have to give the sacrifice. Every year you have to give the sacrifice. What's left? He doesn't want fruits. He wants calves. So that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be horrifying. But it's all gonna be logic. In the manner that the spiritual law now are able to be, I mean, they're, and because we all have the ability to go as profound as we want into the power of the spiritual realm. The thing is that our culture has materialized us, and we have no clue how to participate into the invocation of those spiritual powers. And they're tremendous, they're tremendous, they're tremendous. Everything that you don't quite understand how they could do it, pinpoint that to spiritual power, because it can accomplish whatever it needs to bring humanity into mystified state. That's what the devil wants to do. He wants to put you into a state that you lose track of, oh wow, how is that possible? And at that point he gets you because you're trouble. You're not certain of reality. You're not certain of the measure of what reality demands. And if you're concerned about the direct impact of reality on you, then you kind of miss the boat in the fact that Satan make you produce that thing. Therefore, he's a reflection of that thing, not that thing. So if you don't want to perceive the devil as an entity, a bit like God is an entity, then you have a hard time to explain things, especially the one of Jesus. You really need to believe in the devil as enablation, a being able to give you dirigence of the relationships of the power of that real reality that is founded into spirituality. That any spirituality that is in a manner putting in direction an ideology of fulfillment for the balancing of the heart, that doesn't comprehend the consistency of reality. And that's very much what it is when all the Christian that has no clue what truth is, and they pray to God, and you don't pray to God. You say thank to God, but you don't pray to Him. You just say thank you, God. God the Father, that is, the great God. God the conceiver of that reality. God the Creator, the Father. And then you have to get in accordance with God the truth, God the verity, God the comprehension of the installment of that reality, the comprehension of the mechanism, the work, and the produce of it, which is the purification of the heart in the manner that you have as a goal to have a better comprehension of the mechanism of the reality, but for the spiritual war aspect, on how convincing it is for a human to be part of the natural realm of things that are participating into that society, and how discern and completely of a different substance matter to be part of the eternal life by the fact of comprehending the mechanism and how it functions on us in the concision of that spiritual realm, how everything is based for us to act on ideology, on idea, on mental substance, that we always kind of do reflected move. and they're pushed by our will, so they're morally founded at their base, and they're moral, and all that kind of other aspect that we put on the side, but it's for everything we live, because false or true, hope remains hope. As a lie or as a verity, it's hope, and that's what drives our will, and it resides in the manner of having a perspectivity of reality that is different. And once you understand the just one, but you don't want to participate into the old one. But it doesn't get you away from being able to participate in it. But you don't put any energy into it. Your energy is now directed into other matters. And those matters are of intellectual dimension. Is of realization of the profoundness of the value of what conviction brings to you when it's applied to the dynamic of the real work of what reality is for. The entrenchment of justice value that is founded on our deeply core moral base. When you solution that base, when you perceive that things are just here, and that the reality don't necessarily function for many people or many people yet, but they will come into function as disorder augment through more sin, more grace. And the more you'll lose truthfulness into the perceived distorted reality, which is the product of society, the more you'll lose faith into the program of society, the more you're looking towards a another solution. And if by chance you're hit with that Holy Spirit that affirms you the verity of your moral value, by the comprehension of the toxicity of the appliance of your mind on matter to convert flesh, making the transgression, the general transgression, appear in front of your eyes. And you get afflicted deep enough into the consciousness, the conviction of consciousness that you have done wrong. But you have done wrong. And necessarily for the completeness of the perfectness of salvation, that brings you a sense of lust of guilt, that you don't feel guilty anymore of those sins. You're relieved from the guilt of those sins, because you have understood, now being part of the personal of God, that before you have perceived the real work of what reality was doing for the soul, you were regarding the work that the reality would produce for the flesh. And you didn't know that. You thought you were doing right doing that. But now it's revealed to you that no, dumbass, you're building the devil. Oh, got it. And I always knew. And then we inflict each other, lying at each other to build that stupid devil that will eat us up through his cage of iron, through looking and having information over us, being locked in that cage of information. Bam! And we demand it. We're stupid. But the curse is written in the Bible. That's where she's going. That's where she's gonna go. And worse times are coming. And I'm happy to see everything that is happening around me, because I know that things will become harder for everybody. But they're perfectly acceptable for me now, and I know that they'll be more acceptable later, because they'll even more devise the plan of God within his divergence to an accordance of social building based on a perfect inculted perfect imbecility, having us all kind of power of discernment. And then that will really be realized when you'll have been in accordance with that mark and have left the ether correct your chakra into a perfect state of being, innocently having sold your soul to the devil through the mechanism of perfecting your flesh, not regarding that life was about comprehending exactly the plan that you entered in. That the circle is turned up, that magical and spiritual power have been mechanized, therefore adapted to an innocent soul to be penetrated in. And the mark of the beast, the deception of the system that works through your hypnose, looking at those soap opera garbage on your TV. Mind control is an easy trick of the devil now that everybody's struck on the magnificent power of all those drugs of hallucination and all that. God used many freaking ways to save people, and I really attest that I think it, in many ways, it might be a good thing that somebody go surf a little bit into that realm, that pure spiritual realm, and be able to conceive of its substance, what that thing is really. Imagination. You don't need that drugs to be in. But that's what I've built the society that makes you live now, right out of the same hell pit hole. And that's where it says in the Bible, for his sheep, once you have received new birth and you're part of the elect, that you'll be in it, but without being in it, that your heart is not in it. Your heart is into living it so you can comprehend it better through your emotion, and that's where she all falls. It's through your emotion. As long as in life that you haven't felt what a heart feels at new birth, for the conviction of having found the mechanism of justice in the perceivable reality, and the foundation of the heart into that conviction that the mind have found the right solution, and the heart attests to the mind that it has find the correct answer, a complete conviction without lies. But it's imposed on you. So there's no lies. In the manner that it doesn't put you in any particular position other than the realization that naturally your species is a monstrous toxicity to what perfection has been established at the start. And you have created all that because you have mind power. You're able to discern things and take them apart and fuck around with it and create a whole bunch of problems. If instead of working towards not accept, devising our way to push away death, we would explain its consistency, its use, and what it is for. And that's very much the work that God asked you through His Son, that manner of saying that I created reality through verity, through the recipe of truth that intelligence can systematize under a coherent and logical set of principles and loyalties, or and that life in that perspective has so much more to offer than just be convinced by the ideology of the culture and follow along with it and do what everybody does, seemingly being a better solution. But then attaching all your mind power into that machine of amplification, of sequestration through harmonization of information to reach a complete and thorough control over you, to the point that it'll have ability to heal you right through Wi-Fi signal, because everything is based on that aspect, on pure vibrational base, and that's why everything affects you as a biological entity. That's why horoscopes are true, because it really does something to you with the positioning of how the stars are on you. And the devil is way more powerful than the substance he uses. He is directing the message through his angel, which is called the ideology that we can perceive more on a realistic base as receiving a good idea. You got it there, buddy. You got it there. You received a good idea. Good for who? Good for what? Whatever it is, does it explain you what's after death and what's your purpose to live now, your life right now, correctly? Probably not. It tells you how to reprogram that stupid program that you've been having a hard time to program for a year, and all of a sudden, boom, got it. So simple. Well, That's called illumination, buddy. That's exactly what, like it's exactly what, like that's an infimum part of like a familiar spirit. It's a dry cut information level of the devil. And if you get that particular idea on your specific job in that specific part of the world, then your brain is all set up to receive that idea. And that's how the devil has built you all your life. And that's the magical thing, is that the devil has built you all your life that way, and when you receive new birth, that doesn't change. You know that in your past time, even though that whatever the Christianity tries to explain as Jesus is in you since the beginning. Yeah, he's in you because he wants to inflict you with the devil. So you end up asking the right question, the right reason of the right truth, which is, in reality, when you get real deep into affliction of your heart, is really like what's wrong with the everythingness of everything. And you fall into kind of a pit that everywhere you look, it seems that there's bad intention. Somewhere, even through the good cause. Look at him. He did give all that money to that guy, so now he's got good publicity from that guy, and since he did that generous move, his fortune quadrupled. And it seems that it was kind of a planned move. So what? What are you doing things for? It's easy when you're rich enough just to throw money on the pile to buy up some kind of a peace through money. But it lies to you in the obvious meaning, because whatever you're doing there, you don't really explain it more than it's good to give. And that's where she stops for you to be able to explain something like that. That where you're doing that, it's good to give, and that's all there is to it, and you're not wrong, but you can't go further. It's good to give. Yeah, I agree with that. Good to give. But that doesn't save you. What saves you is, why are you here? What's your purpose? What reality is for? What's the goal of reality? What's the work there? What should we perceive going through reality with our consciousness? What should we concentrate? The only thing that we belong. So mind power, intelligence, and then moral value, intelligent moral value. Okay, that's an indication that surely, like if it be viewed in a righteous way, would bring you to the explanation of what reality is for. And if everybody would be convinced of their pure moral value, there is no doubt that there's enough good in the world that will structure that amount of love with a comprehended rational direction, guide, or not really a guide, but because you'd be born in it, and you'd be growing with it, and you'd be everything in your life would be about the potential, constructive potential of good, and the destructive and toxic usage of that bad. And really passing the mind into a place where the logic is found on the foundation of humanity, that every logical expression of the mind would be structured towards the compassion towards each other, in the meaning that everybody would be in search of the wound of each other, so to be able to reflect on that wound and try constructively with the participant of that wound, the guy that is inflicted of the wound, edify about the the infliction of that wound, the incapacitation of that wound. And then in a leaf flicker thing there is and but that's the basic of rest. That's the basic of rest. But that human is the cancer of the earth, and yeah, it is. It is, really it is. Human is the cancer of the earth. It's the sickness of the earth. But the earth gave us cancer back, so what the heck? So okay, let's drive that discussion on the human aspect.